Today we back with another video doing my Eastern Conference predictions going into the next season. Initially, I was going to wait probably until a little closer into the season start, but honestly, off-season content, you just got to kind of try to get videos out basically, as well as a lot of the, major off-season things, which more apply to the West and the East, but like Lauri Markkanen, players are in the West, but they can always get traded. Doesn't seem like Ingram's getting traded. Doesn't seem like Lauri's getting traded. He signed the extension. LaVine probably starts his season on the Bulls. Other miscellaneous trade pieces, I don't know. But basically, it seems like, at least for now, all the major pieces aren't moving anymore. Maybe I'll do an updated list if a couple trades happen before the next season starts, and we'll see. And I'll probably do like an official, like a legitimate power ranking, as well as like a playoff prediction, but this is just going to be just the seeding predictions. So starting off, as I already said, the East, and easily the Celtics are the 1 seed again. I think that's the easy part. After that is when it kind of starts getting hard, because as you'll see, really, and even like the bottom, I feel like should be pretty easy. But the East, from the 2 seed to the 8 seed, I believe, was about 4 games apart. And I expect all the teams to be about the same. So really kind of, that's when it becomes a struggle. At the bottom of the East, nope, not number 2, the Washington Wizards still really didn't make too many roster improvements. Alex Sarr was probably seen as the best prospect going into it, but he had a really bad summer league. And I'm not going to hold that against him and just assume he's going to stay bad. But that makes how bad the summer league was makes me feel like early in the season at least is going to be a struggle. He's still going to play. He still has all the potential he had. Nothing changed about that. But to start off the season, I'm not expecting how bad he was in summer league, because he wasn't just bad. He was awful. I'm not going to expect him to come in and probably be like in rookie of the year to contention to start the season. He might end the season very strong. He might really get it together. But to start the season, I still expect it'll be a slow kind of start, as well as the fact that I expect Kuzma and maybe Valanciunas to be moved before the end of the season. At 14, the Brooklyn Nets. Now with the Nets, they still have pieces to move, whether there's some Cam Johnson rumors, which I know it was like some rumors. I don't know if it was him or if it was Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm pretty sure it's Cam Johnson, where there might be like an Okoro sign and trade with the Cavs, but that still hasn't happened. Okoro's still the free agent. We'll see if it doesn't happen. But yeah, between him and Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe Dennis Schroeder or someone wants him. They still have a lot of pieces that they can be a competent team and win close to 30 games. But I just think, especially that back end of the season, is going to be tankathon. They'll probably start off not great, not like, I don't want to say decent, that's a little juiced in, but they'll probably start off, a little respectable, and then as the season comes, they'll really slide down, similar to how I want to say the Jazz did that the last season. I'm pretty sure, where they were kind of respectable in the run for the playoffs early, and then they just kind of tanked out the second half of the season, to get their lottery odds up. At 13, the Pistons. And honestly, to 13 and 12 are going to be interchangeable. Now, I will say automatically, I'm going in this fresh mind. I have an idea of where I want every team, but I don't 100% have it locked in. So 13 and 12 be interchangeable. But 13, the Pistons, I think Cade, he's not a top 10 point guard or anything, because you really look at the point guard position is stacked. But Cade is at the level where it's like borderline all-star type of guy, I feel like. And getting actual competent shooters around him, as well as a coach in JB Bickerstaff, who has shown with the Cavs that he can help build a little bit of a culture and a little bit of like functionality, and not be a 14-win team with Al Monty and he's supposedly not even supposedly, he was planning to take at least, I don't know if he was retiring or if he was just taking a year off coaching, and the Pistons said, how about 60 M's? You can't turn it down. So a coach that definitely is in a mindset going into it. He wants to coach. He wants to be there. He has ideas. They're going to move up the standings. I could even see them maybe being 11 if things go right. But, I'm not. We'll see. 12. Charlotte Hornets. Actually, I'm going to just fill out 11 through 13 are all interchangeable. I'm going to talk about the Hornets and the Bulls here. Now, the Hornets, the main thing is just LaMelo's health. These past 2 seasons, he basically has not played. But the first 2 seasons of him playing, the Hornets were a play-in team both times. So if LaMelo can give you 60 games, I'm really banking on his health. Not an 82 game season, probably not even 75, but yeah, about that 60 game mark. If LaMelo can give you that, I think you're really comfortable with that production, and I think that can get you close to respectable. I don't think the Hornets are at all a bad team. They have a good amount of talent on the roster. It's really LaMelo is make or break. He is make or break for the team. If he's not there, they're one of the worst teams in the league. If he's there, I think they can be maybe a play-in team. The Bulls. Now, the Bulls are in a situation, it just depends what moves they can make. Either way, I mean, they could end up being a play-in team if they aren't able to make any move, because you have your young pieces. You got Kobe White. Hopefully, he's still improving. Josh Giddey in a new environment where he can be a legitimate, closer to a point guard. You have Ayo, who I would have thought was, before the Giddey trade, would have been like your long-time kind of starter next to Kobe White, but that's not going to happen, but he's still fine. Modest, we'll see what he is. Unfortunately, well, Zach LaVine and Vooch are still there, and there doesn't seem to be a big trade market. So it's hard to have them higher because of a lack of talent, kind of. But it's hard to have them lower because there's enough talent that unless they are able to move those guys, they're not going to be a bad team. So really, 11 through 13 is all interchangeable. But in that realm of like respectable but bad teams. At 10... I guess we're really in Toronto. And I assume, being real, just looking at the East, the top 8 teams are clearly the top 8. But after that, with 10 and 9 being Atlanta and Toronto, another interchangeable one. Whereas less is more for Atlanta is the theory, where you're letting Trey be Trey. You're not trying to force him to be kind of an off-ball guard a little bit, because DeJounte was a real point guard who they tried to make into a shooting guard, and it just didn't work out. But either way, with the functional role players that are around Trey, where it's basically kind of Luka pre-Kyrie trade, where it's Luka and role players. It's kind of, I guess, just banking on the same thing with Trey, which I think can be a functional team. But you look at the top 8 in the East, so you look at the Celtics and these 7 teams we haven't even ranked, I just think they're all better than them. And obviously, injuries are going to happen. Teams might just take an unexpected, back step, which, we might project a little bit in this video. But I don't think it gets to a point where you're, legitimately like a 4 or 5 seed. Even like I can see a world where they are a 4 or 5 seed, but that's like a lot of teams getting hurt, a lot of just miscellaneous issues that I struggle to really get with. And with the Raptors, I kind of skipped over them. Another team where it's just, I guess it kind of depends on how the season starts. It was an all-star, not even borderline all-star. Manuel Quickley, he got paid. He's been good. Jakob Poeltl, functional starting center. RJ Barrett was very good on the Raptors. Who else is going to start on their team? I don't even, off the top of my head right now, I can't even remember who their other starter is, being real. They have the pieces to be a competent team. It's just about how, really, RJ and Quickley, how much they put it together, as well as how ambitious the Raptors are to want to win. Because they're another team that I can, just like I said with the Hawks, I could see them being probably not 4 or 5 seed, but I can see them being maybe 6, 7 if things go right, and other teams, things are just going bad. As I said, though, this is where the hard part starts. At our 2 seed, Philadelphia 76ers. Year after year. Now, last year they were the 7 seed, I believe. Yeah, but that was only 3 games behind 2. Right? So obviously there's that gap. And they were like great with Joel and bad with, I believe they were 31-8 with Joel. If he played 37 games, I believe that was the number. So obviously with Joel Embiid, they were elite, and it was 39 games. So maybe it's 32-8 or what, 31-8. Maybe that was the number. I don't know. I don't know what I said before. And Philly has basically been a mainstay the last 5 years of one of the top seeds in the East. So it's really not much of a surprise that they will be back here, especially you add Paul George. They have really good depth. Joel's probably going to play more than 40 games. Maxey, the sky's the limit with Maxey. We saw what he was doing during the playoffs. I expect another decent sized jump for him. So for you to have a team that has 3 All-Stars, has good depth, and has shown historically that they can be a top seed, I have no reason to believe they'll be any lower. 3, the New York Knicks. They were the 2 seed last year, only by 50 wins. So barely, as I keep saying, this whole segment of the East is very close. But adding Mikal, Julius Randle will probably play more games. And you really just have a team that has such elite depth. Like their playoff rotation is probably going to be of the better ones in the season. And there's still other guys who will be in the regular season rotation, who might not be in the playoff rotation, who you trust to play 20 minutes on some nights. And I feel like even with injuries, no matter what goes bad for the Knicks, they should be good enough that they are keeping home court advantage. For the Milwaukee Bucks, it's just another team why I explained it so hard, because I could see them, this 2 through 4 is another very interchangeable, where I could see them being a 2 seed. Giannis had a great season. Hopefully Dame has a better season he had last season. They bring in Gary Trent. They bring in Middleton could possibly have, a little bit of a comeback season because he's been, hurt and everything, but he was very good in the playoffs. They bring in Taurean Prince, like a couple functional role players. Still, your older guys are getting older, obviously. You have, because they just continue to run it back with the score. And Brook Lopez is 35, and he's not coming off a bad season necessarily, but there's always that kind of fear that, I don't want to say this is the end, but that the fall off is going to start. But either way, since even coming back from his back injury, he stayed functional. So I don't really expect a big fall off, and I expect them to kind of maintain. Miami 5. Now, the Heat were obviously in the play in the last 2 seasons, but I think that's really just an example of poor circumstance. And I think, especially with Jimmy, there's been some rumors. I think they're really going to just try to commit to health and commit to being, I guess, not that team, because they were a 1 seed, 2021 they were a 1 seed, that's kind of a long time ago now, but they, even before that in 2020, they was like 4 or 5. In 2022, I feel like they were in that realm of like 4 or 5, something. So they've shown they can be a real playoff team. It's really just been these last 2 years with Harrell missing a lot of time this year. And last year, I want to say Jimmy missed a good amount of time. Jimmy actually played 64 games. I don't know what happened last year. Especially maybe they ended up making it last year. That was the year they made last year being 2023, not being 2024. So I guess 2 years ago now. 2 years ago, I don't remember. No, 2 years ago, that was the year they made the finals. Basically, all their shooters could not shoot during the regular season. And then once playoffs came around, they all just found their shot back. That's how they end up being in the finals. So I feel like you're going to have a season where all your shooters are not going to just fail to shoot. And then this year was more health with Harrell missing a lot of time. You bring in Terry Rozier. That's kind of a weird-ish fit, but we'll see kind of what that does. Jaime is going to take a jump. You have Khalil Ware, who probably won't play big minutes from initially in the season, but a guy who can probably eventually make Bam get some more power forward minutes, which is something Bam seems to be interested in. He does not want to be a full-time 5 completely, which is understandable. I guess he's, undersized. Jovic taking another jump. You have the young piece and the talent. Once again, the Harrell and Rozier fit is kind of questionable, but I think the Heat have enough talent that they can easily just come in at 5. Number 6, we have the Cavs. Now, this 6 through 8 was really hard for me, and maybe I wouldn't call myself a Cavs fan, but I guess I'm believing in their continuity a little bit, where they've shown for 3 seasons that they can be a respectable team, while the Hornets and while the Pacers and the Magic, last year was essentially their year 1, and the Cavs, that their team can go get maybe not 50 wins, but close to it. They have a team that, once the playoff comes, I have no clue what I expect for them. But in that regular season, I can fully expect that they're going to hold their head above water and be a functional team. Because typically, basically every season, they start off, through the first couple months, maybe through like the end of the year, maybe through December, they are like a 2-3 seed. And then they start getting injured and stuff goes bad. They start falling down. But I fully expect them to still be a legitimate playoff team. 7-8, and this hurts me, but we got the Pacers, the Magic at 7-8, and I guess it's just I just believe the other teams will have better seasons than me. It's not even that they're bad teams, and I guess maybe their flaws just fall apart. The Magic obviously were not a good shooting team last year, and I think that's definitely going to take a hit once now teams are looking at that scouting report more because they see them as a threat. When you're playing a team going into the season you have no expectations with, you're not really taking the games as seriously early in the season. So I expect them to, I don't even remember how good they started last season. I know like they were like 3 seed at one point, but I feel like they kind of quietly crept up as the season went on. And not to say that they're going to have a bad start necessarily, but teams are going to take them more seriously and know this is a real team we got to go out there and compete against instead of treating them like they're the Pistons or something. So it's at a point where teams are going to dare them to shoot, and hopefully Franz's jump shot comes back because it was bad last year. Bringing in KCP obviously does help that a little bit. The Pacers is kind of the opposite, where their lack of defense, where I think teams are going to try to take advantage of that, and maybe some teams who are capable are going to slow down the pace, and they're going to force the Pacers to play at a pace they're not comfortable at, because you're not getting stops anyways. You know, the Pacers, obviously their high pace offense is what is getting them in contention, keeping them in games, and if you can slow them down, that forces a game they don't want to play in. A game they'll probably lose it. So this is my official predictions, I'll say. But as I said, once again, probably 11 through 13 is interchangeable. Atlanta and Toronto, and probably 6 through 8, 2 through 4. And then Miami's just an outlier. Miami could be 2 seed for all I know. Or they could be 9. You never really know at Miami. But if y'all enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe.